In the twilight of the late 25th century, humanity's legacy sprawls across the cosmos in a fractured tapestry of light and shadow. Far from the familiar blues of Earth, the orbital battleground orbits a dying sun, a testament to human ambition and the scars of old wars. The heavens above, cluttered with derelict space stations and rusted relics of past conflicts, mirror the chaos that has become humanity's new frontier. Aboard the imposing warship the Resolute, the atmosphere is both serene and charged with an unspoken tension. The command bridge, a narrow sanctum of blinking consoles and holographic displays, thrums with the rhythmic hum of engines and the soft chatter of a dedicated crew. Here, Captain Nova Winters stands at the helm, her eyes locked on the endless expanse beyond the reinforced viewport. The swirling cosmic dust and distant glimmers of ancient satellites evoke memories of lost comrades and battles fought on the razor's edge of survival. Nova, whose visage is marked by the quiet determination of one who has weathered countless storms, carries the weight of leadership with a grace hardened by loss. Every scar etched into her memory is a silent reminder of betrayal and sacrifice, and yet, amidst the cold void, her spirit burns fiercely. As she contemplates the distant, fractured remnants of once vibrant space stations, the captain's thoughts drift to the price of human ambition, a price that has rendered the stars both a beacon of hope and a harbinger of doom. In the background, the ship's communication systems hum softly as they pick up a series of cryptic transmissions. The messages, laced with static and urgency, hint at an unseen danger lurking on the fringes of human space. They speak of anomalies and disturbances, of enemy movements cloaked in the deceptive silence of stealth technology. For the crew of the Resolute, these signals are a grim omen, a prelude to the chaos that often unfolds when humanity dares to challenge the unknown. Outside, the void seems endless, a canvas splattered with the remnants of long-forgotten wars and the nascent dreams of new frontiers. The interplay of light and dark in the cosmos reflects the inner conflict of the captain herself, a blend of hope and sorrow, resilience and regret. With every measured breath, Nova steels herself for the impending storm, her heart a steadfast anchor in the sea of uncertainty that is interstellar conflict. In this vast expanse, where the whispers of the past merge with the promise of the future, the stage is set. The Resolute, a beacon of human resolve, drifts amid the skeletal remains of a once glorious orbit. And as the silent symphony of space plays on, Captain Nova Winters prepares to write the next chapter of humanity's struggle, a narrative etched in starlight and shadow, where every moment holds the weight of destiny. The lingering hum of routine in the corridors of the Resolute was abruptly interrupted by the subtle tremors of unease. In the dim light of the command center, where holographic maps and flickering screens chronicled the ship's every move, whispers of treachery began to coalesce into an ominous murmur. Captain Nova Winters, though ever vigilant, felt the chill of premonition seep through the steel walls of her vessel. In the midst of the ceaseless beeps and data streams, Nova retreated to her private quarters, a sparsely decorated cabin where the weight of her past met the fragile hope of tomorrow. The room, bathed in the soft glow of distant stars through a narrow viewport, offered no solace from the relentless tide of memories. Here, she allowed herself a moment of reflection, her thoughts as scattered as the cosmic dust swirling outside. Each recollection of betrayal, a trusted officer's disloyalty, a friend lost to the ravages of a cold, indifferent war, wove together into a tapestry of silent agony. The memories were as vivid as they were painful, a constant reminder of the price she had paid for command. Elsewhere on the ship, the mood was no less somber. In the communications bay, Lieutenant Mara Reyes reviewed intercepted transmissions with a meticulous intensity. The coded messages, a series of garbled data punctuated by urgent beeps, hinted at an enemy presence lurking in the fringes of known space. "Captain, you need to see this." Mara's voice crackled over the intercom, tinged with both apprehension and determination. Her words carried an unspoken warning, a realization that the enemy's subtle moves might signal a larger, more sinister plot. Nova's second-in-command, Commander Elias Holt, joined her side. His normally steadfast demeanor was shadowed by a growing suspicion. I've run the patterns through every algorithm we have, he murmured, eyes scanning the intricate arrays of data. These signals, they're not random. Someone is orchestrating this from the outside, deliberately sowing discord among our ranks. His tone was measured, yet the underlying urgency was unmistakable. Back on the bridge, the atmosphere shifted as the intercepted communications were broadcast on a larger scale. Crew members huddled around consoles, sharing anxious glances as fragments of the enemy's digital whispers unfolded before them. The information painted a picture of coordinated subterfuge, a clandestine operation that could only be the handiwork of a mastermind. And in the labyrinth of these signals, one name echoed with unnerving clarity: Admiral Zorak Ven. Even as the name rippled through the ranks, a palpable tension filled the room. The legacy of past conflicts and personal betrayals hung heavy in the air. Nova, her gaze steeled against the encroaching shadows of distrust, addressed her crew with a calm authority. "We stand on the precipice of uncertainty," she began, her voice resonating with the conviction of one who had weathered many storms. "These whispers are more than mere static. They are the harbingers of a calculated strike. I need every one of you to remain vigilant and united. We cannot let division be our downfall." Her words were met with a resolute silence, each crew member absorbing the gravity of the situation. The exchange was more than a command. It was a call to arms against an enemy that sought to undermine their unity with the venom of betrayal. In quiet corners of the ship, private conversations sparked with doubts and theories. Some speculated that the rogue signals were a diversion, a subtle prelude to an imminent boarding attack, while others feared it was the calm before an even more devastating storm. As Nova retreated back to her private quarters that night, the soft hum of the ship was punctuated by the steady cadence of her measured breaths. Outside her viewport, the stars twinkled in silent testimony to the countless secrets of the universe. Yet, amid the celestial dance, one truth shone with inescapable clarity: the enemy was among them, weaving a web of deceit and betrayal that could unravel the very fabric of their hard-won unity. In that fragile, haunted space, where trust and suspicion coexisted in a precarious balance, Captain Nova Winters vowed to uncover the hidden saboteur behind the dissonant whispers, a task that would test her resolve and redefine the course of the looming conflict. In the heart of the night cycle aboard the Resolute, when the ship's systems hummed a constant lullaby of routine, the silence shattered like glass under the weight of sudden chaos. The subtle beeps of routine alarms morphed into a clamor of urgency as an unexpected breach was detected. Without warning, red lights flooded the corridors, and the crew scrambled to their battle stations. At the command bridge, Captain Nova Winters stood rigid, her gaze fixed on the rapidly shifting holographic displays. "Status report. Now," she barked, her voice slicing through the mounting panic like a laser. Lieutenant Mara Reyes's fingers danced over her console as she fed Nova a stream of raw data. "Captain, unidentified vessels are approaching at sublight speeds. They've breached our perimeter shields, and now they're inside." Her words echoed in the confined space, each syllable a harbinger of impending peril. As Nova's mind raced through the potential outcomes, the cold reality of the boarding strike set in. The enemy had not only mastered the art of subterfuge, but had executed a maneuver that bordered on the audacious. Through narrow corridors and hidden maintenance passages, shadowy figures, clad in advanced, stealth-adapted armor, began to infiltrate the warship. Their movements were precise, every step calculated to sow confusion and seize control. Down in the corridor leading to the engine room, Commander Elias Holt rallied a group of officers. His voice was a firm command amid the dissonant clatter of footsteps and rapid-fire orders. "Seal off all access points. We cannot let them reach the core systems." The tension in his tone betrayed the gravity of the moment. Every second counted in this unanticipated invasion. Meanwhile, the bridge was a hive of controlled chaos. Nova's eyes darted between her officers, each of whom bore the mark of seasoned veterans, a blend of hardened resolve and deep-seated fear. "Lock down Sector 3 and initiate the internal defense grid," she ordered, her voice unwavering despite the tumult. With every command, the crew's collective heartbeat synced with the rising pulse of battle. each crew member playing their part in the desperate dance of survival. In the dimly lit passageways, the enemy advanced like specters of war. Their leader, a figure whose identity was shrouded in a mask of mystery and menace, moved with an unsettling calmness. Each step echoed a silent promise of vengeance, a vendetta that had brought them into the very heart of the human vessel. Their stealth technology rendered them nearly invisible against the ship's intricate labyrinth of corridors, leaving only fleeting impressions of their cold, calculated precision. As Nova monitored the unfolding events on the bridge, fragments of conversation crackled over the comlink. "Sir, enemy units are converging on the primary corridor," reported a young ensign, his voice strained with adrenaline. The terse updates were interspersed with the clattering of rapid movement, each report painting a grim tableau of the invasion. In that critical moment, Nova's thoughts danced between the cold logic of military strategy and the raw, primal instinct to protect her crew. Every decision was a thread in the delicate tapestry of fate. Each misstep could unravel them all. The clash reached a fevered pitch when Nova ordered a countermeasure. "Activate the automated turrets," she commanded, and in response, a series of mechanical arms erupted from concealed panels, their rapid-fire precision forcing the invaders into a disorganized retreat along one of the corridors. The sudden burst of defiance rippled through the crew, offering a temporary reprieve from the encroaching dread. Yet, even as the automated defenses fired with deadly accuracy, the enemy persisted. They adapted to the onslaught with unnerving speed, their advanced armor shrugging off the initial barrage. In the ensuing melee, Nova caught a glimpse of their leader through a fleeting, cracked viewport, a visage etched with cold determination, eyes hidden behind a reflective visor, exuding the same relentless resolve that she herself had long embraced. Amid the disarray, a solitary, whispered voice from the comlink reached Nova, carrying with it a chilling certainty. "This is only the beginning." The voice intoned, its tone both cold and methodical, as if delivered by fate itself. That single, ominous phrase lingered in the charged air, a spectral echo of the enemy's promise. The boarding strike was not merely an act of aggression. It was a calculated overture to a larger, more insidious campaign. In that moment, the corridors of the Resolute transformed into a crucible of survival. The flickering lights and fractured communication lines became the battleground upon which the fate of the crew, and perhaps the future of the Interstellar Alliance, would be decided. As the warship shuddered under the combined weight of the enemy's assault and the crew's desperate resistance, Captain Nova Winters steeled herself. Every heartbeat, every breath, was now a step deeper into the labyrinth of conflict, a challenge that demanded not only strength of arms, but the unwavering resilience of the human spirit. Amid the chaos that roared through the corridors of the Resolute, an eerie calm settled over the command center as Captain Nova Winters initiated a secure channel. In the dim glow of holographic maps and fluctuating sensor readouts, a single, crackling voice emerged, a voice that carried not only the sound of cold steel, but an ideology forged in a crucible of betrayal. "Captain Winters," the voice intoned, smooth yet menacing. "Do you truly believe your kinship with humanity's remnants is worth preserving at any cost?" It was Admiral Zorak Venn, his words laced with the conviction of one who had long abandoned the comforting pretense of unity. Nova's eyes narrowed, her mind racing as she steadied herself against the flood of raw emotion and tactical data swirling in the background. "Admiral Venn," she replied, her tone calm but edged with defiance. "Your vendetta blinds you to the truth. Our unity isn't a relic. It's the lifeblood of survival in this fractured cosmos. We protect not out of naivety, but out of necessity." For a long, suspended moment, the bridge of the Resolute seemed to hold its breath. The adversary's voice returned, each word a calculated challenge. Necessity? Or is it the illusion of control you cling to, even as chaos reigns beyond your shields? His question hung in the recycled air, forcing Nova to confront not only his argument, but the ghosts of her own past, memories of lost comrades and the bitter sting of betrayal. Around them, the ship's crew labored to secure vital sectors and fend off the encroaching enemy infiltrators. Yet within that secure channel, a different kind of battle raged, a collision of philosophies. Commander Elias Holt, standing nearby, exchanged a quick, knowing glance with Nova. It was as if the entire warship's resolve was manifest in her measured tone. I have seen the cost of misdirected vengeance, Admiral. Nova continued, her voice growing resolute with every word. I have borne the weight of sacrifice, and I know that the true enemy is not each other, but the void of despair that would see us perish alone. You choose to let bitterness rule your choices, but it is that very bitterness that will leave you isolated in the end. Zorak's laughter, low and devoid of mirth, resonated through the channel. Isolation is the natural order in the vastness of space, Captain. Humanity clings to hope, to unity, yet you fail to see that in the end, hope is as transient as the light of dying stars. My actions are not born of malice, but of a cold, necessary clarity. Humanity's hubris must be curbed before it consumes us all. The exchange deepened, each syllable an ideological parry. Nova's mind flashed to the countless faces of her crew, each one a testament to resilience, each a beacon fighting against the encroaching darkness. And what of honor? She asked softly, almost to herself, yet her words carried across the channel with undeniable force. In the midst of this war, is it honor to sow despair and watch as the legacy of our kind unravels? Or is it honor to stand together, even when the stars themselves seem to conspire against us? A tense silence fell over the channel, punctuated only by the occasional distant alarm and the rhythmic pulse of the ship's engine. It was as if the very fabric of the cosmos paused, caught between the opposing ideologies that now clashed within the heart of the Resolute. I stand by my vision, Zorak replied at last, his tone measured yet unyielding. A vision where strength is not diluted by sentiment, where the weak are not sustained at the expense of the many. Your notion of unity is but a chain that binds progress. Nova's heart pounded, not solely from the urgency of the boarding battle raging in the corridors, but from the gravity of their verbal duel. Progress at the cost of our humanity is a hollow victory, Admiral. I would rather endure the losses and mend our broken bonds than sacrifice our souls for a vision void of compassion. As the conversation ebbed and flowed, the underlying sound of combat intensified, a relentless reminder that the ideological confrontation was only one facet of the unfolding war. Through the secure channel, their dialogue became both shield and sword, a means of understanding the enemy's rationale even as they repelled his physical incursion. In that charged exchange, Nova felt the profound isolation of command, how every decision, every word, carried the potential to either bridge the divide or widen the chasm between allies and adversaries. She was locked in a battle that was not solely of firepower and strategy, but of wills and ideals. The Admiral's final words lingered like a spectral echo. When the final star burns out, we shall see whose convictions endure. And with that, the secure channel went silent, leaving Nova alone in the dim light of the bridge. In the quiet aftermath, her resolve hardened like tempered steel. The warship shuddered under the strain of the ongoing boarding, but within the heart of its captain, a renewed purpose blazed fiercely, a promise to safeguard not just the ship, but the very essence of what it meant to be human. As Nova glanced once more at the view beyond the viewport, a vast expanse where hope and despair danced their eternal duet, she steeled herself for the battles yet to come. In the collision of ideologies, she had found her truth, that unity, forged in the crucible of hardship, was the only beacon that could guide them through the darkness. Silence fell over the Resolute in the immediate wake of the boarding strike, a heavy pause where the echo of chaos was slowly replaced by the stark reality of loss and damage. The corridors that moments ago had thrummed with the clamor of battle now lay in a state of disordered calm, illuminated by the sporadic flicker of emergency lighting. Smoke curled through the halls, carrying with it the acrid scent of burned circuitry and the bitter tang of fear. Captain Nova Winters moved through the dim passageways like a specter, her every step measured against the weight of responsibility. She paused at a shattered viewport overlooking a once proud section of the ship, now marred by scars of conflict. In that quiet moment, Nova allowed herself a brief, unguarded glance at the devastation. Walls riddled with puncture marks, systems blinking erratically in distress, and a scattered cluster of crew members tending to the injured. Each mark of damage was a testament to the enemy's calculated ferocity and a reminder of the cost of vigilance. Down in the command center, the once rhythmic hum of consoles was now overlaid with hushed murmurs and the soft clatter of hurried repairs. Commander Elias Holt, his face etched with fatigue and worry, stood over a console strewn with fragmented data. "We're assessing the full extent of the damage," he informed Nova, his voice betraying both urgency and sorrow. "It looks like critical sectors in engineering and life support have been compromised." In the adjacent corridor, Lieutenant Mara Reyes comforted a shaken crew member, her steady tone cutting through the pervasive despair. The aftermath of the incursion was not merely measured in broken metal and disrupted systems, but in the fractures it had caused within the heart of the crew. Whispers of fear, doubt, and lingering guilt mingled with the acrid remnants of battle. In quiet clusters, officers exchanged glances heavy with unspoken questions. Had they been too lax, or had the enemy's stealth simply outmatched their defenses? Nova retreated to a secluded chamber, a makeshift triage and command post, where she could process the onslaught without the din of battle. Here, away from the wounded and the wounded pride of her crew, she allowed herself the vulnerable luxury of reflection. Amid scattered reports and half-whispered recollections of the combat, Nova reviewed images and sensor logs of the boarding party's progression. The enemy's efficiency was chilling. Every step they had taken was marked by a deliberate intent to undermine not just the ship's physical integrity, but the morale of its people. Her thoughts were interrupted by the soft chime of a secured comlink. "Captain, we've stabilized the critical systems," came Commander Holt's measured update. "But the cost, both in resources and in morale, is far greater than we anticipated." The words struck Nova with the weight of inevitable truth. In that moment, the warship transformed into a vessel not just of war, but of collective grief, a floating monument to the sacrifices demanded by interstellar conflict. In a brief assembly on the bridge, Nova addressed her crew, her voice resonating with both regret and determination. "We have suffered a severe blow today," she began, her eyes sweeping across a sea of somber faces. "But every scar on this ship is a story of our resilience. We honor our losses by ensuring that we learn, adapt, and protect the light of our unity even in these darkest times." Her words, though gentle, were laced with an unyielding resolve that seemed to rekindle a spark of hope among her listeners. As the crew dispersed to mend both the ship and their wounded spirits, Nova lingered at the helm, her gaze fixed on the holographic display that now charted a path through the chaos. Each blinking alert, each faint hum of life from damaged systems, was a reminder that the conflict was far from over. Yet, amidst the wreckage and the despair, there was a strange beauty, a testament to the indomitable human spirit that refused to yield. In the quiet solitude of that moment, Captain Nova Winters acknowledged the paradox of their situation. Even in the aftermath of destruction, there was an undeniable strength emerging from the fractures, a collective promise that they would rebuild, fortify, and rise stronger. The ordeal had left its indelible mark on the warship and its crew, yet it also kindled a determination that would guide them through the endless void of space and into the uncertain dawn of a new battle. The corridors of the Resolute were scarred, but like the stars that shone faintly through the damaged hull, hope persisted, resilient, unyielding, and waiting to be reignited. In the quiet aftermath of conflict, as the ship's damaged systems hummed with the promise of a hard-won reprieve, the Resolute drifted through the void like a wounded titan. Captain Nova Winters stood alone on the observation deck, a solitary figure silhouetted against the vast cosmic tapestry. The battle had subsided, leaving behind the scars of both metal and spirit, yet amidst the debris of shattered corridors and fractured alliances, a subtle pulse of hope beat steadily. The crew, though battered, began the long process of mending their vessel and their souls. Nova convened with her senior officers in a makeshift war room where dim lights flickered over battle maps and sensor readouts. The atmosphere was one of quiet determination, a collective understanding that the enemy's strike had not shattered them, but had instead ignited a fiercer resolve to safeguard the future. Commander Elias Holt outlined plans to reinforce vulnerable sectors, while Lieutenant Mara Reyes detailed repairs to the critical communication nodes, ensuring that every member of the crew could once again share in the unyielding fight for survival. Outside the repair bays, echoes of whispered conversations mingled with the mechanical symphony of diligent work. Each crew member, from the veteran engineers to the newly recruited cadets, embodied a spirit that refused to succumb to despair. They labored not just to rebuild their ship, but to mend the fragmented trust that had been so ruthlessly tested during the boarding assault. The scars on the Resolute served as a somber reminder of loss, yet they also shone with the promise of renewal. Amidst the flurry of activity, Captain Nova Winters retreated to her private quarters, seeking a rare moment of solitude to reflect on the journey thus far. Her mind wandered over the events that had led to this precipice. Each decision, each sacrifice, and each whispered promise of vengeance that had culminated in the clash of ideologies. It was in these quiet moments, beneath the cold glow of distant stars, that she allowed herself to reconcile with both the weight of command and the fragile spark of hope that now illuminated her path. As night deepened, Nova returned to the bridge, where a single, undimmed viewport framed the endless expanse of space. Through the dark, scattered stars, she could sense a stirring, an almost imperceptible flicker that spoke of new beginnings. The war with Admiral Zorak Vin and his renegade forces was far from over, yet tonight, it seemed, the embers of human resilience burned brighter than ever. Drawing a deep breath, Nova addressed her crew over the intercom, her voice steady and imbued with an unwavering resolve. We have endured loss and witnessed betrayal, yet tonight, as we stand amidst the remnants of our struggle, we also stand together, stronger and more determined. Let this battered vessel and our united hearts be the beacon that guides us through the dark. We will rebuild, we will fight, and above all, we will never let the light of humanity fade away. Her words resonated across the ship, igniting a shared spark of hope among every soldier, engineer, and officer on board. Outside, the stars bore silent witness to the indomitable spirit of a crew that refused to surrender to the abyss. The journey ahead was fraught with uncertainty, and the looming threat of Admiral Vin's relentless crusade still loomed large. Yet in that moment, the Resolute was not merely a warship. It was a living testament to the enduring strength of unity and the power of hope. And as the cosmic dance of light and shadow played out beyond the viewport, Captain Nova Winters allowed herself a rare smile. For in the heart of every star, she saw a promise that no matter how deep the void or how fierce the storm, there would always be a flicker of light to guide them home.